If you haven't heard about Anchor, it's the easiest way to make a podcast. Let me explain. It's free. There's creation tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or computer. Anchor will distribute your podcast for you so it can be heard on Spotify, Apple Podcast, and many more. You can make money from your podcast with no minimum listenership. It's everything you need to make a podcast in one place. So, download the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started.
You're listening to It's All Good, Magic, Mysticism, and Earth Medicine. Visit us anytime at our new website, magic-and-medicine.com. And that's magic with a K. I'm your host, Dr. Candace Nadine Green.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to our episode. Today, we're going to be talking about circles in sacred geometry and in nature. So I'm glad to have you with me today. It's been quite an interesting few weeks here, but I'm here. I'm not feeling as well as I should. My energy is very depleted. But I knew I had to get you all another show out. So here I am. And we're talking about what circle represents. So in sacred geometry, the circle is the basic shape from which all other figures come from. So it represents the wholeness and the unity of life. You can see circular patterns everywhere in nature, from the microscopic to the macroscopic worlds. They are around, they are within us and outside of us. And we see atoms, molecules, cells, and the spiraling growth of the patterns of plants, or the spinning movements of the sun, the planets, moons, and stars. The central point of the circle can be compared to the seed of creation. The central point is the source of the circle and all other geometric shapes. Just like in the natural world, where the seed is the source of all genetic information needed for the development of various life forms. Now, when a circle smooths, its spinning path is a smooth flowing motion, and that is why it's associated with progress and evolution. In sacred geometry, the curvy shapes are recognized as feminine, while straight lines are recognized as masculine. This is reflected in body shapes because a woman's body is overall shapelier than a man's. In magic, the circle embodies the unity of consciousness, creativity, and manifestation, and has been connected to the sacred wells of ancient mythologies. The Celts considered wells symbolic for wisdom and knowledge, but they also believed that they concealed gateways into other worlds. In Norse mythology, there were 3 wells and 3 main roots at the bottom of the tree of life. One was where the 3 giantesses called Norns dwelled. Others belonged to the realm of mist. And the third was the one to which Odin sacrificed his eye in order to receive wisdom. The circle is also the most harmonious of all shapes. It also symbolizes regeneration and the healing power of nature. Throughout the history of magic, it has also been recognized as the most crucial protective symbol. Due to its all encompassing quality, it has been used to encircle other symbols such as crosses, triangles, or stars, and thus enhance their power. Now, also, circle is sacred. Life happens in a circle. Okay. Um, hold on. Sorry. N- Nothing in nature proceeds in a straight line. They happen in circles, and human cultures do too, like individual human beings go through cycles of development and regression. Yeah, empires do rise and fall. That is true. And cultures that now appear primitive or never development could well be sitting on the rubble of great past civilizations, once built by their ancestors, once flourishing, and then disintegrating under a multitude of pressures. And this brings up something that I want to mention about the 100th year anniversary of the Tulsa, Black Wall Street, that was set on fire by a mob of white people who didn't want them to have that. Didn't want black people to have that. Tomorrow is the anniversary of that, the 100-year anniversary. And I've been listening to a lot of stories about descendants. And there was one woman who was an actual survivor, 106-year-old lady, talked about being part of Black Wall Street as a child. And I see that some of the people, there was one woman who was talking about a hair shop, that she had a salon, and that it was once, I believe, her mother's or her grandmother's, and how she struggled to keep it. And this is what the circle represents: us standing on the shoulders, so to speak, figuratively, of our ancestors who paved the way for us to get where we are, so we can have. And we're building upon. Things may fall and crumble, and we stand tall on that ground, and just keeps going. That's what family is too. That's what ancestors and descendants, everything just keeps going around and around in a circle. It doesn't end. And it's hard to find the beginning of it. But so that is what we think. We do everything ourselves, but we would not be here if it weren't for the path that our ancestors have paved for us. Even if they didn't do as well as we might have wanted, they still made it possible for us to be here. And for that, we owe them gratitude. And even if we didn't know them, we owe gratitude and honor to them, to keep up their legacy, to honor their legacy by remembering our culture, by remembering our roots, by teaching that to our children so that they can pass it on to their children, thus allowing our culture and legacy and lineage to continue on. In the contemporary Western world, which is essentially a white patriarchal elite, it sees itself as the peak of human development, that their culture is superior to others, and that the others are all primitive. That's what happened with missionaries going into different places in the world and trying to convert indigenous people, native people of certain language countries, because they look down upon them. Now, not all white people. I'm just talking about those certain ones who went in and tried to conquer the world, take over the world. To me, it's greed. and discrimination, racism. That's what drove them, I believe. But that's just my point of view. So when these white patriarchal elite sent out their missionaries or did it themselves, they saw all past cultures by nature as inferior. They also saw the way they developed was linear. They didn't think of circular, as in nature, things naturally happening. And they thought that simply because the cultures were earlier in time and existed mainly not on their own right or in their own terms, but as mere steps on a grand stairway leading up to the supreme white Western maledom. This linear developmental process is not questioned as much as it should be, because they, especially when they add in that their view comes from God, which is interesting in itself. But instead of thinking that the matriarch, the women, cosmic mother, should be more highly regarded in society than we are. The pregnant belly of a mother is round. Okay. Children are round. The circle is a very sacred circle. Okay. The circle guides us to work with the vital energy of the earth. It advises us not to struggle against the twists and turns of life's cycles, but rather to follow the natural flow. When we work with this symbol in magic, if we keep seeing it, we're receiving a sign regarding our current life's purpose and mission. Perhaps we need to realize something or receive an encouragement to keep on walking our own unique path. I know I see circles a lot, and I see spirals a lot as well, and I incorporate those into my artwork as well. It just naturally happens. This symbol also could be delivering another message, which is that we need to shield ourselves from negative thought patterns or situations. And I need to think about that too, especially with our current family stress that's going on in regards to an exterior person. The circle may prompt us to establish inner and subset and outer harmony. Excuse me, my words. I'm not feeling 100%, but I'm trying. The best way to connect with the energy of the circle are the circular based or easy flowing exercises like Qigong, Tai Chi, belly dancing, or swimming. Now, these kind of exercises are not only healing and vitalizing, but they also help us to embrace the harmony of life within and around us. I'm going to take a short break. I need to get some water. It's a very short break. And then we'll continue on about the circle.
Mystic Queen Mother offers various spiritual services virtually. Now you can be anywhere in the world and receive intuitive readings, divination and consultation sessions, and even remote video intuitive readings via email. Your sessions will always include spiritual guidance and messages from your ancestors and spiritual team. My prices are reasonable and affordable. You can even book and pay safely and securely right online. Once you book, you'll get a link via email for your session. Visit magickandmedicine.com and click the Services tab in the menu to learn more. That's magick-and-medicine.com. andmedicine.com. Oh, and don't forget, that's magic with the K. magickandmedicine.com.
All right, we are back. And we're going to continue on with our talk about the circle. The circle has the power to enclose us in our own energy field and in blocking all uninvited or unwelcome influences. I've heard many people, that's why say they're putting a bubble of protection around us. I also, or around themselves, I also envision a lot of times this sort of purple circle of protection around my house and property. Magicians cast circles of protection either by imagining, drawing, or creating them using meaningful objects like stones, crystals, branches, or even candles. The attention behind the usage of each magical symbol is crucial, and so it helps to accompany the circle shielding ritual with incantations or protective prayers. It's very important. Intent's important too. Now, we call them magicians, but they're not really we call them magicians. This text that I'm reading, that I've got my notes for, called Sacred Geometry and Magical Symbols by Eva Kenaz, uses magicians, but I just like to use just plain old people who practice magic. When you practice, sometimes people perform rituals under the protection of the circle, but you need to understand that its shielding power may block even beneficial energies. So you have to first decide who or what you wish to stave off so that your spirit guides and guardians are still able to provide help. And that's a tough one, but you have to do it. The circle can also help us heal on a spiritual level because it sets into motion whatever has been allowed to stagnate, including our deepest feelings and issues. Once brought to light, the unconscious, shadowy aspects of our psyche may start a healing process in our conscious minds. To put it simply, the circle helps us bring a focus to the center of the problem and then heal it as a whole. Now, there are other symbols that are derived from circles, which are such ones as the spiral, the serpent, the sun and moon symbol, the yin and yang, the mandorla, which is it's two circles actually. It's two circles that are interlocked at their central points. And there are others, but those are the ones I'm going to mention right now. I want to talk a little bit about spirals because I use spirals a lot. Like, it just comes to me, and I've always used them in art, and I draw them just because sometimes. But these symbols have been found everywhere, all over the world. Their shapes emphasize the smooth movement of the circle, and so it represents progress, growth, and changes. When the spiral turns on the right, so the right turning spiral is connected to the conscious active energy and outer work, while the left turning spiral relates to unconscious passive energy and inner work. The left side stands for past influences and the right side for future ones. So the circle and the spiral unite in the pattern and evolution of nature. The circle could be considered the original pattern and the spiral its evolution. The ceaseless movement of the spiral has been recognized in sacred geometry as the so-called golden ratio. This ratio can be observed all around us and is the key to how nature inherently manifests life. The serpent has been associated with the circle or circle-derived symbols. And in various ancient cultures, the serpent was a symbol of vital and healing energy of the earth. And that's mainly due to the serpent's ability to revitalize and its connectedness to the ground. The serpent symbolism connects the earth and the universe. The snake, or sometimes dragon biting its own tail, was depicted in a circle or a figure of 8 shape, both of which stand for eternity. And I know there's a lot of this, the Christian in Christian culture, the serpent is seen as negative. The whole Adam and Eve story. But not in ancient cultures. Now, like the circle, this symbolizes wholeness, but also the endless cycles of life, death, and rebirth. A good example of the serpent circle, oh gracious, my microphone's acting up, and tree connection can be found in the caduceus symbol, the 2 snakes coiled around a winged rod with the ball at the top. All right. Now, the sun and the moon. Let's hang on one second. I'm getting a text. I gotta answer it. All right, sorry about that. Okay. In the sun and moon symbol, the emphasis is put on the center, as if encouraging us to look within our own inner solar system. The sun symbol represents universal powers and their interconnectedness with our divine potential. So circle symbolism also applies to the sun, to the moon and its cycles. It's often depicted in a 3-fold pattern, the waxing, full, and waning moons. This is, for example, the case of the Celtic triple goddess symbol. In most cultures, the moon is associated with the goddess or the feminine archetype, and the sun with the god or the masculine archetype. The moon symbols stand for intuition, dreams, vision, basically connection to a personal and collective unconsciousness. If we turn the crescent symbol into a horizontal position, we get a chalice or grail that has similar meaning to the moon. It also represents the openness of our minds to receiving divine guidance. You know, think of your hand. When some of you do meditation, your palm is upturned. Okay, that you're opening your palm so you can receive divine guidance. I do that when I meditate or when I sit at my altar a lot. I have my hands, my palms are upturned. That's sort of like a cup. In some ancient cultures, the horizontal crescent has been drawn on foreheads as a symbol of enlightenment. In others, it was depicted below the feet. The yin and yang symbol, the ancient Chinese symbol, shows us the duality of the circle and inherent opposites, which further develop into other various figures. It's the symbol of balance between the forces of light and dark, left and right, active and passive energies. If these energies are balanced, we become complete and harmonized beings who live in purpose and bliss. If they remain in opposition, we tend to move from corner to corner from one extreme to the other extreme, unable to find the natural flow of life. And you can see people like that. Just open your eyes and you see someone who goes from one extreme to the other. The yin and yang hides the never-ending symbol of the figure of 8, which relates back to the serpent symbolism. Now, the mandala, it arises from 2 circles of the same circumference that are interlocked at their central points. Like a Venn diagram. That's what it is. I mean, that's what a Venn diagram is, that. And the part where they cross over is what they have in common. Its mystical symbol, which has been called the sacred gate or the womb of the universe. It's a mystical symbol because it's a hold on. It's a mystical symbol which has been called the sacred gate or the womb of the universe because it literally gives birth to other geometric shapes. The word mandorla means almond in Italian. And since the almond was the first fruit tree to flower in the Mediterranean, its symbolism has been associated with new beginnings. The mandorla's greatest power lies in the harmony of the basic dual principles. It holds a seed of trinity and quaternity. It represents the balanced union of opposing enemies such as light and dark, hot and cold, wet and dry, and so on. Meditating upon the mandala encourages an inner alchemical process of harmonizing the left and right sides of our brains, or the shadow and light aspects of our souls. It's a mysterious gateway between the inner and the outer worlds, or the threshold between manifested and unmanifested reality. In magic, the symbol of the mandala stands for the unity of heaven and earth, body and spirit, but also the coalescence of the masculine and feminine, and therefore the god and the goddess. The mandala is also the base of the seed of life or flower of life pattern from which countless magical symbols are derived. Its power manifests in our lives when we are standing on an important threshold, when we may change our point of view, our feelings, even life mission. It's an encouragement to have an open mind and remain curious about the world. If you keep seeing the symbol or its variations, it could mean that you have been invited to pass through the sacred gate to the wisdom of the universe. It may be the right time to establish a better communication with your inner worlds. You may feel inspired to focus on your inherent psychic powers and learn to improve them. The symbol inspires us to open our mind's eye and discover its magnificent potential. The mandala also signifies the need to balance extremes. It encourages you to harmonize your mind's patterns to realize that sense is equally as important as sensibility. It's best to communicate with the mandala by drawing it, visualizing it, or meditating on it. The horizontal depiction of the mandala is connected to the idea of the third eye. And so the best way to connect with it is to be in tune with your intuition and inner guidance. Then the mandala may open the gate between your consciousness and subconscious mind and guide you to the realms of endless possibilities. And again, there are more symbols that are derived from the circle, such as the eye. We continue on with the eye, the primordial egg, the Vessia. No, that's not one. Sorry, wrong symbol. But the primordial egg. So there are quite some others, and I'm going to put this book in the show links so you can check out some of the pictures in it and be able to learn more about the sacred symbols in geometry. It's a very good book. I hope you enjoyed this. Feel free to check out my website, magick-and-medicine.com. You can click on the various tabs there to learn about different things that interest you. Thank you for listening, and thank you for your patience. May you go in peace.
Thank you for listening to It's All Good Magic, Mysticism, and Earth Medicine. Check us out at magick-and-medicine.com. And that's magic with a K. Thanks for listening.